Hi, this is Lisa Tenner, and I'm so excited to be here with my friend Mark Stinson, who is a wonderful podcaster and author and champion of creativity. Mark has a podcast called Your World of Creativity, and his new book is Unlock Your World of Creativity. And we've got a big, long interview coming to you in the future, but I wanted to ask Mark a few questions now while the book's just coming out about collaboration, because that's such an interesting part of creativity. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks so much. And as an author yourself, and as somebody who works with authors, I really appreciate the chance to kind of dive into the background of the writing and the inspiration all behind it. So thanks for
Mm,
having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so why don't we start with that? The inspiration behind both the podcast and the book.
Well, I think the podcast sort of started taking a life of its own. I love talking to creative practitioners, and it's authors, but it's also songwriters and architects and gosh, I mean, creatives of all types, who are producing the work. I mean, this is the part I like, not just how they came up with the idea, but actually how they make the thing, whatever it is they're making. And
Mm,
so I didn't really even know how to podcast or how to produce it or how to host it. So I say 5 or 6 years ago, maybe all of us in the world were trying to learn how to podcast, and, it's been fun to watch the whole podcast medium, explode. But I also read that most people don't stick with it. So the
mhm.
fact that, I've had so many people not only, interested in being guests, but, uh, tell their stories, and it has blossomed from that end. So then I said, "Oh my gosh, I've got all these great stories. Uh, I would love to turn that into a book. And what are the major themes that I've learned from all these interviews?" Because people kept saying to me, "Well, what was your takeaway from all
Mhm.
these, many hundreds of interviews?" And so I began to consolidate and find those threads and themes to string together the pearls of wisdom that I gained.
And there are so many, and I love the stories, because you did interview people across so many different creative mediums or media. It really makes it so interesting, right? And people had childhood stories. I love the forward. And then people also had, stories of very different aspects of the creative process. So that was really enjoyable. And I thought today we'd just focus on collaboration.
Mhm.
So on the very first page of the introduction, you begin with a childhood story of your own about collaboration. How important is collaboration to your creative life?
Well, I would say to my life and my career, as a creative professional, 1000% essential. People often say, "Oh, you're so creative." Well, I don't know that any creative idea I ever might be credited or, told I came up with was really my own, but it came from a team or it came from a customer group, especially customers. So without collaboration, none of these ideas would have ever made it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite story about collaboration in your own life, or one of your favorite stories, and what makes it
Yeah.
uh, special?
Well, I know for me, talking about career-wise, focus groups are a very well-known market research tool, and you get some people in a room and you say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Or, "We wrote this headline, does this appeal to you?" Or, "Let me show you a logo. What do you think of it?" But I was over time really able to flip it on its head and say, "Let's make something together." And
Hmm.
so over time, refining this tool, and I call it innovate, not only a play on words of innovate, but and a literally in of eight people that as an ideal group size, we say, let's create something together. So it became a co-creation model
Hmm.
to, use that collaboration. Let's get people with different schools of thought or different experiences or different approaches to whatever topic we were working on and have them imagine solutions. So that part of collaboration has been extremely meaningful, and I've conducted hundreds of those. But then I kept seeing teams of maybe 2 people. I interviewed Dave Knoll, who created the game show Chopped for Food Network, and he has a co-creator, so they are working as a team, collaborating on these game shows. I would talk to food, creators. I would talk to accounting firms who said, "Let's get creative with the numbers, and build businesses." So almost in every interview for the podcast, there was a team aspect to the creativity that I saw.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I have found in my own work that collaborative work, it's so exciting, it's so juicy because you do have these different people bringing different skills, bringing different ideas, and so you come up with things that just are more innovative, I think,
Yes,
naturally when you're co-creating. When we're doing it on our own, sometimes we can be super creative, but there's something about that synergy when you've got a number of people collaborating.
yes,
But since you mentioned that Innovate process, one of the things in the book that I think is so powerful too is this idea that uh, one way to really harness your creativity and share it in a bigger way is to look at your own creative process and say, what is that process? And it's interesting because that's really how this business that I have started. I didn't know I was going to be a book coach, but I thought, gee, I've got this creative process with these 5 elements or 5 steps of getting into a flow state, really, right? And really getting into your most creative state where things come with ease. And that was my signature process, and it's evolved over time, and I tend to do it as that Meet Your Muse guided visualization nowadays,
mhm.
which I've done with on your podcast, actually.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, but for me, it launched my whole career, and the career took, a kind of blossomed from there, right? And there were other creative processes such as how do you write a book and how do you get it out there and how do you write a book proposal. But I I didn't. Is there anything else you want to say maybe about that, how you identify creative processes and any advice to people who are looking to do that,
Yeah, sure.
identify what they have?
Well, certainly this idea of a signature method, really
Mhm.
whatever it is that sets you apart. And again, my inspiration came from the creative thinker, philosopher, business coach, Edward de Bono. So he inspired me with his signature method, the 6 thinking hats. And he's got another model called 6 action shoes. And it actually has helped me, think more creatively. Even if I'm by myself, I can bring 6 different ways of thinking, to a particular project. But I know in the book I feature, for example, Christoph Zern was one of the first people I ever interviewed on the podcast, and he has a method called music thinking where he has this creativity framework around music terms. So, orchestrate, conduct, a conductor of the orchestra of the band, that there's harmony, that there's notes of creativity. So all these things about collaboration and creativity, he's enveloped in his method called music thinking. So other people, Adam Alter is a professor at NYU. He has a method around sort of emotional and actionable aspects of creative problem solving. So whenever you're looking at a problem, so I just think that for any creative, whether it's again a musician or an architect or a restaurateur or whoever is trying to sell something creative, to say, this is my process, this is my ingredients, this is my recipe, and here's why it's unique, um, sets them apart from anybody else who says, oh, that was a clever idea. Having something
Mhm.
that is your signature way of doing it is going to make your ideas more valuable.
And then finding a good name for it, right?
And a good name is always important.
Speaking of which, I love the title of your book, Unlock Your World of Creativity. And I look forward to our in-depth interview as well. But I wanted to get this out there to people because I think this book is terrific and wanted to really make sure people heard about it right away. And so look forward
Yeah, I
to more.
appreciate
And
that.
I
And,
encourage our listeners. So,
well, thank you. No, and this is verb. I always like verbs that says,
mhm.
what are we going to do? What action are we going to take? And this idea that you can unlock, I think I hope appeals to people that says, if I'm feeling stuck or I'm feeling blocked or I'm feeling somehow I can't get in or, I can't sell somebody because I don't know how to access them, that unlock might be a word that appeals to us.
I think so. I think this is the kind of book that, you might read cover to cover and get some inspiration right away, but you're likely to come back to it at a time when you are feeling a little stuck and just maybe even open it to a page and find just the right thing in that moment. So it is that kind of book that's going to be a resource for the rest of your creative life.
There you go. I love that idea that you could just pick up a book and say, huh, page 34. I wonder
Yeah, and
what's
this
on
is
here. Yeah,
this is totally that kind of book,
I
and,
think it could be.
every chapter has these juicy stories as well as, here's how to do it.
Perfect.
And do you wanna tell people where they can get the book?
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, and as long as you're talking about the book launch, so it is available for pre-order now, and the official launch is March 15th, and it will be on Amazon and as a paperback, so you can get it there. And there'll be other places online this will be available. So March 15th, the official kickoff, and we really, I think, as a way of collaborating, we're really trying to make this. Let's all get in, find a story that we like and share it from that point of view.
And how do people join that storytelling?
Yeah, on LinkedIn especially. So I'll be featuring some of the stories that are in the book, some of the chapters and concepts, and we'll just kind of open up the comments in LinkedIn.
Great,
Yeah,
great. So this is Mark Stinson, and you can join Mark and me and all the other people who are reading this book and excited about the book, people who are in the book, and join this conversation about how to unlock your creativity and really get your wisdom and your creative ideas out into the world in a big way.
thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Mark.